Hi, today I'll be interviewing Shawn Wang. Shawn is the head of developer experience at Temporal.io, and he recently published the Coding Career Handbook. Shawn also teaches React, TypeScript, and much more, and you can find his resources at swyx.io. Shawn will be speaking at the React Summit US conference this November 13th and 15th in New York, and for more information on the React Summit, I'll put a link in the description. Hey, welcome, Shawn, and thank you for joining me today. I've been looking forward to our discussion. You're going to be at React Summit in New York on November 13th and 15th, and really, we've got a lot to talk about, so let's just dive in. And the first thing I want to ask about is learning in public. I know you're a champion of learning in public, and I care a lot about that because that's what my YouTube channel is about as well. So if you would, just tell us a little bit about how you got into learning in public and why you're into that.
Yeah, thanks. I really respect YouTubers who do it because that's the one channel I don't really do well on. So I got into learning in public because I was very frustrated at work. I was an engineer at my first job, and I wasn't being given very challenging tasks. Sorry, I have a little bit of a kettle boiling situation going on. I wasn't being given challenging tasks, and I did not have a good boss. And what do you do in those situations? And I think a lot of people are trapped in jobs that they aren't really growing at. And so what I did was I started attending every single meetup in New York City and picked my own mentors. And I think learning in public supercharges that because what you do is you put the stuff you learn online and people can come across it. They might benefit from it, but most of the time they'll actually point out the areas where you're wrong. And that's useful to people who are usually learning public is kind of pitched at people who are behind you, like who are more beginner than you. But even it's useful to people who are even more advanced than you because they can understand how your misperceptions might be perceived and they might correct their own messaging. So I got started learning public as a New York City tech community member, and that started taking off as a blog. And teaching and speaking and all that stuff. And it's completely changed my life. So I highly recommend it to everyone.
Hey, that's some awesome insight. I think all my viewers are going to appreciate that, and I do as well. Also, I know right now you're very knowledgeable about AI, and I've had lots of questions from curious viewers on my channel that are learning about web development, and they're wondering if they should continue to learn web development and will it take my future job? And of course, I've answered that already on my channel with my opinions, but I'm very interested in your answer and your opinion to that question as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of these answers are going to be predictable after a while, which is no, they're not going to take many people's jobs. And if it is able to take your job, then your job wasn't that valuable anyway, and you should upskill. So the way that I phrase it is that everyone just got a junior developer, and you are able to draft code very quickly, but you still have the role of reviewing code to make sure it's correct and performing to the standards and the architecture that you can maintain long term. So I would say it's not really taking away the important jobs, and that's the stuff that you really want to go after.
Hey, thank you for that answer. It always helps to give some reassurance there, and your opinion's very much like mine on that response as well. Yeah. Okay, now let's get to the exciting stuff about React Summit. Now, can we get a little bit of a preview of what you want to talk about there without giving it all away ahead of time?
So I've been on this path of the quote-unquote AI engineer for the past about a year or so, and I've been interested and involved in MLP, machine learning and NLP, for the past, I guess, 10 years. What I'm going to talk about is effectively my journey from being a React engineer, going into AI without the PhD credentials, and still being very effective. I can tell a lot of stories about that just because I've been covering it on my podcast, Latent Space. And I just finished running my own conference, the AI Engineer Summit, where we are trying to define what this job role is. I think there's a lot of opportunity for React engineers and front-end developers and JavaScript developers to make room in this, where previously this field was completely locked off to you because it was primarily in Python and PyTorch, and you had to be a machine learning engineer. So as this demographic transition happens for AI, I'm going to be telling you how you can get involved and up to speed, and also what the landscape is like today.
Hey, that's awesome. And hey, before we finish up, I know you've mentioned a site or two that your information's available on, but would you like to share that one more time so we can make sure the viewers can find you online as well?
Oh, cool. I am at Swyx.io. That's where most of my blogging and my other links are at. My podcast is at latent.space. I just love the short domains. And the conference that we just did was AI.engineer. So if you want to check out the state of AI engineering, you can kind of go there and watch the live streams.
Hey, awesome. And definitely looking forward to your presentation at React Summit in New York on November 13th and 15th. Thank you for joining me today, Shawn.
Thanks, Dave. My pleasure.